Jar Jar Binks. You are listening to Behind the Lens.
And yes, you are listening to Behind the Lens, although today you're not listening on November the 28th, you're not listening to us live because we had a rather rude awakening here at the Adrenaline radio station this morning when it turns out our website was hacked by quote-unquote Islamic terrorists. The site has been, if anybody tried earlier today to log on to the site to listen to us live, this is a rebroadcast you're hearing now on Adrenaline. It will be up on Movie Shark Deblore later today, as well as regularly scheduled podcast on iTunes tomorrow. It came as a shock to everyone at Adrenaline. The IT guys are feverishly working to solve the problem and get the website up and working, not just for my program, but for everybody else. My right-hand man, Brian Leone, Brian has his podcast later this afternoon, nothing in particular. Hopefully, he'll be able to go out live. Do you think? We don't know, do we, Brian?
No, I'm waving my head at you as if they can see me also.
Yes, as if they, yes. But so, if I sound a little testy this morning, I am a little testy. And, this is unacceptable and it needs to stop in this world. I mean, you're hacking a radio station. Thank you so much. This is not how we connect and communicate in the world, which leads me to what the basic theme of today's show is. It's all about communication and connecting, thanks to two wonderful guests. First, at the quarter mark hour, we're going to have Greg Kappy. Greg is a former filmmaker. He's also a teacher. He now teaches English as a second language and has this remarkable workshop coming up. And in this day and age, more than ever, communication and learning English and learning it effectively are very important. So hopefully Greg's going to have some insight for us. I know there's some press out there that really should probably take advantage of Greg's class and workshop. It's a one-day at the former Beverly Garland, now the Garland Hotel on Vineland in Studio City. One of my old haunts. I know it well. But very exciting. At the half-hour mark, we have the phenomenal Malcom Carter, filmmaker with The Connected Universe, one of the most fascinating and intelligent documentaries I have ever seen. It couldn't be out at a more opportune moment with the success of Arrival, Denis Villeneuve and Eric Heiser's film Arrival, which is about interspecies communication and communicating as humans. The Connected Universe fascinates in that it breaks it down on a physics level with quantum physics, math, and science to explain the connectivity and how everybody is part of everyone else. We've all been hearing this through the Star Wars movies over the years, the Force, the dark side, the light side, the midichlorians that run through each and everything in the universe. Well, now we have a documentary that scientifically shows that to be correct. So I can't wait to talk to Malcom. I am just thrilled to have him as a guest. He's if you don't know who he is, he's also part of the NASA think tank. So get ready for what I hope will be some fascinating conversation. And I can't say the word fascinating enough when I'm talking about the Connected Universe because it really enthralled me. And I watched it twice already, and I want to watch it again. But in the interim, Brian is here. I gave you a great Star Wars lead in here, my friend.
You did. You did give me a really good Star Wars intro.
With the Force. And now we're going to hear how the Force is mathematically and scientifically explained, and through quantum physics explained.
It exists, and it's here. And science is proving it.
That's right. But something else is now here, because what happened at 9:01 Pacific Time, 12:01 Eastern Time last night?
We need to find him.
All right. How many do I need?
They are requesting a call sign.
It's Rogue One.
Oh, I love every time I don't know the character's name yet, and I'm not going to assume what the character. There are some bigger fans than I am, that have already broken this movie apart, which I can't do. I'm going to watch it and then break it apart. As in, like,
Well, did you see the TV spot that launched last night?
I did not see a TV spot.
Well, you will have to go to my website, moviesharkdeblore.com, because I have it on there.
You do?
I certainly do.
I'm going to go ahead and check that out as soon as we're done with the program here.
Because it has features one of my favorite characters, and you know who that is.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No.
Darth Vader is he in it?
You'll see.
Oh, I can't wait.
You'll hear, you'll see.
You know, at Disneyland, let's do the countdown first, and I'll tell you my story. Rogue
Oh,
One.
well,
you
need a big build up here.
I do need a big build-up.
Because it is now time for the Star Wars countdown.
It's a Star Wars count. It's just no. I don't want to get sued. Star Wars, a Rogue One. Just like you said, 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. last night.
9:01.
9:01 last night. There was multiple cries of agony as websites crashed, as people lined up outside their cineplexes. It was a moment of rejoice, of sadness, of great terror when Rogue One finally released. And I've been complaining.
I know you have every week for the past 6 weeks.
I have been saying, where are my pre-sale tickets? Well, they announced them maybe on Friday that they're coming out today, Monday or last night.
Last night.
And Fandango crashed. Every single website that could sell you a ticket crashed. There were people outside like I said, their cinemas. They were purchasing tickets in advance. It is here. We are 17 days away from Rogue One. 17 days away. I remember when we were 90. I remember when we were 80. Now we're 17.
Yeah, you didn't really
away.
start paying attention until we got below 100.
When it got below 100, the excitement started to build up, and we've seen the car that they partnered up with.
Yes, the Nissan.
I have not seen my toothpaste yet, so I'm still waiting.
Or
on
the
that.
shaving cream.
Or the shaving cream. But Rogue One's here, and Disneyland, like I said, they used to have a meet and greet with Star Wars characters. You can either meet Chewbacca, or about a couple months ago was Kylo Ren. Well, they swapped out Kylo Ren and they placed in Darth Vader. So you can meet Darth Vader, and it's an imposing character. Whoever's behind the mask at Darth Vader in Disney.
It is Darth Vader.
It is Darth Vader, actually.
There is no one behind the mask.
Well,
it is Darth Vader.
Anakin's behind the mask, but he is terrifying. He comes up to you and he invites you into the room, and right away I pledged my allegiance to the Empire. No way I was going to be a rebel scum in front of the most terrifying figure in the universe. So I took a photo with him and posted it on Facebook later on so you can see it.
Oh, well, we must see that, because then I'm going to have Lydia. I'm going to pull your photo and I'm going to have Lydia put it in the video of today's show.
Okay, I'll send it to you so that way you can send it to Lydia. But
Yes.
yeah, 17 days away. But
Yes.
Star Wars Episode 8 is 381 days away from us. So that one's closing in also.
Well, I got to ask you. You're the perfect person to ask. There's been a lot of discussion after an article came out in Variety over the weekend from Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, because people have been saying, why are no women directing Star Wars? And she said, because they're just, the guys seem to be more adept at it than women. Now, that's not to say we don't have fantastic female directors like Catherine Bigelow, who could very easily, I think, handle a Star Wars or a Marvel film. But whether she'd want to do it, that's entirely something else. But other people, including my colleague William Bibbiani, Bibbs, to those of us that know him, Bibbs actually posted a really interesting commentary in his column in craveonline.com, who I don't think were hacked, so they're up and running, opining about no women directing in the Star Wars universe. And I have to say, with all the female-directed films I see, there are plenty of very, very talented female directors. But for the most part, the films and their storytelling, it doesn't have the vision that some of these male-driven action sci-fi films have. I'm not dissing female filmmakers. Jane Clark, one of my favorite filmmakers, Dory Barton, fabulous female filmmaker. But there is, on the whole, I think Kathleen Kennedy has a point about the female director directing a film the magnitude or the vision of a Star Wars or something in the Marvel universe. What do you think about that, Brian? Being the huge fan that you are of both franchises.
I hate to use the term millennial.
Yes.
But I'm going to just to make a point real quick.
Okay.
As a millennial who would be categorized in that, I hate the term, like I said. I don't mind who's directing it as far as gender goes.
Right.
If the person is qualified, if it's a first-time director taking on a big project, I'm not going to go in there with a closed mind. I've never seen a film either directed by the newest Star Wars. I guess there's just one. Mm-hmm. But most Marvel movies I'm starting to enjoy more. If had a female been directing it, I wouldn't have noticed because those movies are very...
It's if they can deliver on the film. Do they have the vision? Can they see a vision and then execute on that vision? And I think as a rule, a lot of the films that I have seen from female directors, they don't have that edge or that vision that so many of the men bring to the sci-fi fantasy genre.
The best person should get the job.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The most qualified person should get the position that they're going for, not just based on gender,
right,
or race or age. Let's look at George Miller. Like, the guy is in his 70s.
Yeah.
And he directed one of the greatest action films of all time.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with age, race, or gender. It should be just whoever has the best, who's well equipped to do it. And if someone were to direct a film that's a female in the future, like a Star Wars film, it would honestly change it would change 0% of how I feel about Star Wars. Oh,
absolutely. And that's part of because the discussion is, Kathleen Kennedy is wrong about why they haven't hired a female. Well, I'm of the mind the best person for the job.
Exactly.
And in looking at a good portion of female-directed films, I have not seen films that show that these women could have directed a film like that. And that is not to diss any female filmmaker because, I champion and support them.
As do I.
But, it's not a question of, as you said, not a question of gender, race, age. It's about who can do the job, who's the best person for the job.
If somebody that's female wants to start doing sci-fi, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of Star Wars films coming out. If they're doing canon films of plots that have already been explored.
Yeah.
Because we're going back in time with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Get into directing a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
And I get sometimes Hollywood's a little sexist, a little ageist, but if you're doing something that's great, mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like or who you are. If you're doing something like the world forgave, there's I can name a ton of actors, I'm not going to, that have had a second chance. So why can't someone have their first chance
mm-hmm.
at directing a film like this? I think absolutely there should be a female that's qualified, not just thrown in there because she's female.
Right.
Qualifications. That's what I want. Again, I'm 100% okay with Rey being the head of the franchise right now.
Oh yeah.
And she's a woman, but I did not see that she. I mean, I knew she was a woman, but I didn't see it as an issue until I saw all the backlash on the internet, and I started thinking I didn't notice that this was a female character. I saw it as a strong character.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed. I noticed a strong character, not, oh, it's a girl. No, it was a leader. She was fierce. She was, and yes, she's a woman, and that's awesome that I saw little Rey's running around on Halloween this year.
Yeah.
But I had no issue with it, and I have no issue with Furiosa being a strong female character in the Mad Max films. I had no issue with Jennifer Lawrence's character Katniss, mm-hmm. or Elsa from obviously that's an animation film, but still it's a character that didn't need romance to
right. And now we have Moana, another strong female.
I have no issue with women being in power or being ahead. If they're qualified to direct the film, go ahead and put them in there. Do Rogue 2, whatever we're doing.
Well, I think what could be the tipping point is Ava DuVernay, who is currently doing A Wrinkle in Time. I think that if anybody's going to make the jump into hyperspace of a female directing anything in the Star Wars franchise or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think it's going to be her. I'm curious myself to see what happens with A Wrinkle in Time. It is one of my most beloved books of all time, and the telemovie that was done of it was really quite poor. So, but Okay, we have now gabbed and kvetched about several things this morning. Terrorists and and directing sci-fi franchises.
Well, the Star Wars films are about terrorism.
Well, in a large sense they are. So it all kind of came together. But now things are going to really come together as we welcome the wonderful Greg Kappy. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Debbie. How you doing?
I am fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me share some stories with you today and talk a little bit.
Well, I am thrilled to have you. As I have often said, and I said at the top of the show, but unfortunately, because we were the radio station was actually hacked by terrorists early this morning, so we're not going out live. We're being recorded and will air later today.
Okay, no problem. I hope you got that all squared away. Well, that's really scary.
The IT guys are working on it. I'm glad nobody saw my face when the station owner came in and told me what had happened.
Holy moly! What a morning! Well, what a way to get back from the Thanksgiving weekend, huh?
And apparently, quote unquote Islamic terrorists because of what was actually replaced in place of the site.
Oh my goodness! Well, gosh, I can't top that. That's for sure.
Well, no, but that's why what you do is also very, very important with your English Power Zone workshop that you're doing. And I've said this many times, and there are many press that really could benefit from your workshop. Trust me.
Well, I just feel like, especially in a city like Los Angeles, where we have millions of people who English isn't their first language, and they're kind of, in some ways, not necessarily being held down, but they could be doing so much more in their lives and sort of actualizing the things that they want to do if they could just simply speak better English.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what we're focused on in English Power Zone, is just helping people learn English, but in real-world immersion-type settings outside of classrooms, so they can feel like they're more a part of the community and they can become more of the part of the community and achieve their goals.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sitting in press conferences before, notably one years ago with Johnny Depp, and one of the press asked him a question, and her English was so bad he actually said, "I would love to answer your question, but I can't understand a word you said."
There's certain levels, like if you're sort of just beginning to speak English, it can be very frightening to try to interact in the community at all. But even on the other end, you have people who are maybe executives for companies who they speak pretty good English, but it's not quite perfect enough. They're reading or they're writing or they're communicating to maybe compete or to be able to communicate with people sort of on a higher level. So really anybody can learn, even we who English is our first language could of course stand to speak and write better English.
Oh, always.
Of course.
So because you are also a teacher,
mm-hmm.
Do you consider yourself an online grammar policeman?
No.
I have to ask.
My wife always makes fun of me because I can't go to a restaurant menu. If I see an apostrophe that's out of line or something, I've kind of stopped mentioning it because I'm sure it's annoying for other people. So actually, it's a really good question because I spent a lot of my life sort of micro thinking about things like that, but I've changed a lot recently. It's actually a bigger question than that is why are we worried about sometimes some of those small things? I mean, people should just be encouraged to communicate and just think about the bigger picture of what they're trying to say rather than, like, for example, my students. I'm not going to kill them over a little apostrophe that's wrong and be that kind of grammar police because I don't want to do anything that might inhibit their ability or their desire to tell a story. So I've done a 180 on being a grammar policeman for sure.
And I'm sure now, because you also teach at LA Valley College.
Yes.
And you actually were a filmmaker.
I have made a movie. I made a movie called Shooting for Home. It was a documentary that we
on Kevin Bradshaw.
About Kevin Bradshaw, a famous, sort of not quite famous basketball player who still to this day holds the record for scoring the most points ever in a Division I college basketball game. And the reason that story kind of spoke to me had really nothing to do with basketball. It was it was really about his human transformation of a guy, a black guy in rural Florida, who really just felt like the world was racist against him, and he was racist against them, and he was sort of angry and on drugs and all the usual sort of stories that go along with these athlete stories sometimes, the whole cliche. And he disappeared for 20 or 30 years. Everybody thought he was dead, including myself. And he shows up in Israel, of all places, living in a kibbutz, and he had met this woman, an Israeli woman, and literally became an Israeli person, a citizen there, and was in the military there, and became the first black professional basketball coach that that country had ever seen. So it's really the human transformation of this guy falling in love and how he was able to really find redemption through his love of this woman. And basketball really just became sort of a B story, wasn't really important at all.
Mm-hmm. So now I have to ask you, because of the very times that we're living in right now, Kevin's story and Shooting for Home is really very timely even today. I think especially today, about overcoming that chip on your shoulder and forming a life and taking charge. Where can people find Shooting for Home? Is it available today?
Sure. Shooting for Home is available on Amazon. You can buy it, but it's also on the internet now for free if you just want to download it and watch it. I sort of figured I want as many people to see this great story as possible, and I'm not trying to make $1 million selling a little video. I'd just rather get people, as an artist guy, I want people to see the film and hopefully, have a response to it. And so, yes, it's on Vimeo, and you just really have to go to the Shooting for Home Facebook page, and you'll see a link right there to click. You can click on it and watch the movie for free.
Oh, and I guarantee you, my lovely sound man here, my right hand, Brian, he is the king of digital downloads. I guarantee he's nodding his head in the booth. He's going to be downloading the movie. I guarantee you, he will be downloading your movie, Greg.
You know what? I encourage everybody to download it and watch it. And it's that was a mistake I made, sort of a lesson I learned as a filmmaker, a first-time filmmaker, is I felt like my material was so precious, and I had to be secretive about it, and I just didn't want people to know what we were doing, and I had to sell it as this product. But really, I changed a lot during the course of the production of the film. I just felt like, why are we making this movie? We're making this movie because we want people to see it, and we want people to see this story. And it's not Star Wars. We're not going to make millions of dollars, and that's not our goal anyway. Our goal is just to tell a story. Mm-hmm. So it's free.
It's free. And that's Brian's other key word. The smile is on his face. But,
Brian will enjoy it.
But as we all learned in Legally Blonde 2, America, the land of free gift with purchase. And here you just get the free gift.
That's it. Free gift with purchase. You got it. So, you don't have to buy anything. Just go click on the Shooting for Home Facebook page is still up and running, and it's got some pretty cool links there for some of the festivals, that we had some success at, and links and where you can see the movie for free.
So would you ever consider going back and making another documentary, especially given this workshop that you now do? Compound on that, maybe a teaching or instructional video, or do you really prefer, with the English Power Zone, that one-on-one, that human connection?
That is a really, really good question. I would, in principle, I would love to make another documentary or a narrative film. The reality is, for my personality, I think my talents are best utilized with me, like you said, interacting directly with students or directly with people. I have a hard time sitting still, and all the editing and the writing, and it's all great. It's a great process, but I can't sit still long enough. I like to be up, moving around, working with people. So I think English Power Zone is a little more up my alley.
Well, now for everybody because it is open to everybody, and it is this coming Saturday.
It is. It's Saturday, December 3rd from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the afternoon at the Garland Hotel in North Hollywood. It's 100% free. The workshop is actually called Learn English for Work. It is what it is, Learn English for Work. And you just have to you do have to register. It's EnglishPowerZone.com. It's free registration. There are no weird catches or upsells or anything strange. You just click on it and, give just so we know who's coming and how many to expect. And so far, a lot of people have been interested in it. So really looking forward to this Saturday.
I went on the website to check it out, and oh my gosh, I mean, it's a very easy, straightforward website. So even if your English skills are not the best, you will be able to navigate very easily to register for the workshop. And you picked a really wonderful location. I have great love for the former Beverly Garland Howard Johnsons.
Yes, and I spent many times many long hot summer days out by that pool way back in the 90s when it was that Holiday Inn or it was a Howard Johnson, and they've really done a great job renovating the hotel, and I know those guys a little bit, and so they really helped me out, and many thanks to Jessica there at the hotel for helping me out and to get a really nice room, and we're looking forward to a good event.
Yeah, I mean, they've always, when Beverly Garland was still alive and she owned it, and she would come down, because I was there all the time in the 80s. That was my local hangout in the Valley. And it was also for many of the Stuntmen's Association. That's where they would hang out as well. And really, nice people then. And I've been up there recently doing interviews that have been up there, and they have done a beautiful job renovating.
They have, and they've, much credit to those guys for working with me on this. It's the first time that I'm doing this event, and it's just they're excited about me coming, and I'm excited about going there. So we're looking forward to it. It's called Learn English for Work, and people can learn all different ways to find jobs that might be suitable for them, or how to interview, or if you have a job, maybe customers, how to improve your customer service, or get along with your coworkers or your bosses. So we're going to touch on all kinds of subjects.
See, now that you mention, learn how to interview, I think you need to do a seminar on how potential people, how you can learn to interview to work on a film. How you can learn to interview to get your foot in the door of Disney or Warner's or Paramount.
That's a tough one. If people can figure that one out, it's like, I know that there are no degrees required. Nobody is, and I worked as a location manager on films and TV for many years before I even got back into teaching English like this. And nobody ever asked me where I graduated from or what my degree was. They just wanted to know would I show up and be a good worker and have good energy. So there's no simple method for how to get a job working on a crew, as you probably know. No,
because I did production for a number of years, and it was just like, so-and-so referred you. Okay, fine. Can you show up? Are you available? How long can you work? Do you mind working 17 hours? Going out to the desert? No. Okay, I'm there. Yeah, they didn't care about my credentials or my training or anything.
No, and if you keep saying yes, then doing a good job, they're going to keep calling you.
But that's not to say do not go get that training in education.
You really need to, and I have to tell you, when we were making Shooting for Home, there was many people congratulate me, or they tell me that they love the movie, and it's really not a cliche. I mean, it's 4 or 10 sort of Mount Rushmore of crew members that movie isn't what it is without those people helping. The editor, the Chris Showerman and Christian Krieger, and some of the associate producer guys that were just there every step of the way, and it's like they were just always said yes and showed up on time and were just eager to help and make a good product.
Oh, well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today, Greg. This has been wonderful, and I do hope everybody, EnglishPowerZone.com. I mean, it sounds like an exciting workshop and seminar that, like you said earlier, everybody can benefit from.
Yeah, it is, and we're excited about it, and everybody can gain something from it. And hey, it's free, so what's wrong with that? And we could all stand to sort of learn some of those job skills and learn a little bit more English. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about it.
Oh, and I hope you let me know how the workshop goes, because I want to see you do more of these and have you back on the show.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'll keep you posted for sure, and just thanks again for having me on to talk about it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Bye-bye.
All right, well, bye-bye. Talk to you later then. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that was Greg Kappy, EnglishPowerZone.com, free workshop this Saturday at the Garland Hotel on Vineland in Studio City, North Hollywood. And now, we have him on the line. Yes, Brian? Brian, I don't know what Brian is doing. But I think I am now bringing Malcom Carter on live with me.
Yes, hello.
Hello there. I have been so anxious to talk to you. Welcome to Behind the Lens.
Thank you. I'm very privileged to be here. I'm looking forward to speaking with you as well.
Oh, I am beyond privileged to have you. This documentary, I've already seen it twice.
Awesome.
I am just blown away, and it is so nice to know that all those Time Life books, I got the same ones. I am so glad to see somebody else loved them as much as I did.
Well, it's a beautiful thing how inspiration continues to pass on, and seeing those, what you're referring to is I sent you in my bio information when I was young. I got these little Time Life books about astronauts and the Apollo missions, and I was so inspired and moved, and it's incredible to fast forward and realize, to work with NASA and astronauts and to be spending the last 15,000 hours of my life exploring the connections of the universe and how everything is interconnected. It's been a really wonderful and deeply inspiring journey, and I'm so happy to finally have the film out and to be able to share some of those understandings with the world.
I mean, I think my mouth was open the entire time watching the film, because not only is it beautiful, but everything is broken down so that, the average individual, a lay person, you don't need to be a quantum physicist, like Nassim Haramein, in order to understand the principles that you're talking about here. As I was talking to Brian at the top of the show, and I was saying, we've heard in Star Wars for all these years about, the Force, and that everything is connected, and there's dark and there's light. And what you essentially do with the connected universe is you break this all down mathematically, scientifically, and through quantum physics, and prove, what Nassim does is prove what we've been seeing unfold on film for years.
Thank you for saying that and for appreciating that, because that has actually been why we put so much effort into the film. It was really, really critical for me for this not to be just some erudite explanation for a small group of physicists to understand the importance of the advances. To me, it was really critical that everybody could understand, and we worked to try to shape that. In fact, one moment that made me incredibly happy is after working a ton of time on the explanation for the black hole, I Skyped with my 10-year-old nephew and some of his friends and gave them a little quiz afterwards of the section, and they understood all the concepts. And so I'm like, if I can get it to the point that it could be understood by 10-year-olds, then we're really on the right track to help make it accessible for people, because I think everyone can benefit from understanding these principles and these ideas. And as you pointed out, you do not have to be a quantum physicist. There is no test afterwards. But what is possible is to be able to take some of these understandings with you in your life and change the way that you see the world and interact with the world and the way that you experience it.
Well, you have a very definite structure to the documentary. And you started out with the theories that, and hearing Sir Patrick Stewart narrate this is just glorious. You could listen and not watch to Sir Pat. But, you start out with the theory that we are more connected than anyone ever thought. But it can all be broken down to a mathematical equation. Yet the more connected we are, the more disconnected we are. And you address, the idea of what the media puts out there and what we are drawn to, the worst aspects of humanity. And then you start breaking things down with Nassim's explanations. We get more and more and more of his work integrated into the film. But we start seeing how we connect with the world, with the universe, changes our own inner experiences. And if we connect more positively, it will change our experiences and hopefully minimize the fear and the worst aspects that everybody seems to showcase.
Well, I think thank you for that, and I think that we are in a very important time right now where it's important that a positive narrative has a chance to come forward. I think there's a lot of people right now in the world that are experiencing some anxiety and some stress over how the future might be unfolding, and that it's very important to keep in mind. I think that the timing for this message of understanding about unity and about connection and about our similarities and the capabilities that we have to lift each other up and to work positively together. I think that this is a very, very timely and important message, and I hope as many people as possible get a chance to experience the film and to reflect on what they can do in their own life and in their own way to try and help not only understand it, but to live some of the principles in the film.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you go about designing your narrative through line here, Malcolm? Because you take us back all the way back to Einstein. You touch on his unified field theory in addition to his theory of relativity. And from there, you go in, you talk about Tesla, you talk about Niels Bohr. You know, everybody and everyone out there that has gone through this in junior high and high school, those names are going to start ringing little bells in your head as you hear them again. But it is so cogent and so cohesive at how you have broken out this timeline for us.
Well, thank you. Again, one of the things that we mentioned in the film that I'm really, really excited about is some of the greatest minds in our history. They have had insights and understandings into these things and into the connection of things. Leonardo da Vinci said, understand that everything is connected, learn how to see. And that in their time, they were capable of talking to a few students. And, after the invention of way back in Socrates and Plato time, they had a small group of students. After the printing press, more things could be done, and Da Vinci encoded work into his paintings and into his work that showed he was far advanced in his thinking, and more so than he even expressed at his time. But right now, we live in a time where we can share these messages with everyone, and I think it's really important that people from all over the world can benefit from these understandings of what some of these people have brought forward, and that Nassim is part of the evolution of these ideas, and this work continues to advance. I became incredibly fascinated when in my work with some of my real world space projects and studying of Einstein, that Einstein felt that his greatest work was undone, and that he worked until the day he died, basically trying to discover a field, a unified theory of physics, and that if we could know that, what it would mean to humanity. And so it's very exciting to share these advances and to share the importance of the journey and to recognize it's a journey that we're still on, and we have a lot more understanding to do. But I'm really excited that people all over the world can get this. And in fact, I have to say a huge thank you to the more than 3,700 people who made our film the highest crowdfunded film in documentary history on Indiegogo, and that there were more than 100 people from 100 different countries helping to bring this message forward. So what an honor to do a movie about connection and to have people from 100 different countries helping to connect to make it possible. I mean, this is for all of them as well.
So now, when did you know or decide that okay, this was a story that needed to be told and that you were the man to tell it?
Well, I had, in 2007, I pitched a show to the Discovery Channel about the search for unified physics after what I had discovered about discovered that I had learned Einstein had been doing this for a long time. But when I really started to delve more deeply into his work, I thought that it was an incredibly fascinating journey to pursue, and I wanted to see who was working on these ideas. But at the time, there was no Act 3 in the film side. There was no breakthrough. There was no big advance. The third act would be The Search Continues, which didn't feel like a compelling enough story. But I continued to follow it and continued to work because in my humanitarian work that I've done for several decades, I have seen some of the best of humanity and unfortunately some of the worst. And whenever I've seen the worst, it's always been, in physics you try and find the underlying principles, the causes of things. And if you really dig down to every example that I've seen of the worst of humanity, it's always based on fear and disconnection, me against the world, us against them. I can do whatever I want to you as long as I'm getting what I need. These principles that exist in humanity, unfortunately, don't bring out the best. And yet, I have met extraordinary people on this planet doing wonderful and incredible things. And if you look at their thought process, it's really on love and connection. We're doing this together. They think about ideas bigger than themselves. They recognize how we can, advance collectively and not just individually. It's fascinating to me, the misunderstandings that people have taken from Darwin's work, where they talk about survival of the fittest, and yet in his work there was more discussion of symbiotic relationships and how nature is interconnected and works together, and whole systems collaborate to support other systems. And I think that is the message that has been lost in the modern world, and there's too much focus on individual and not enough focus on what we're capable of doing collectively. And
I think that ties in with something very key that you bring out in the film, is that we need to experience nature and life from an experiential place and then apply the math and science to understand it.
I think it's critical.
I mean, go ahead.
And another one of the big connections that we want to make in the connected universe is, and thank you for your nice comments about the cinematography and the way in which the film is presented. It's been fantastic to see the incredible response we've gotten around the globe about how people describe it as beautiful and poetic and cinematic, and that was very much on purpose, in the standpoint that one of the big connections we want to make is to connect the head and the heart. I think that it's important that this material isn't just understood intellectually. It's actually even more important that it's felt, because I think if you can both feel it and intellectualize it, it will really help increase your understanding of it, and it will really help increase the possibilities of people finding ways to implement it in their own life.
Well, now, speaking of the visuals, these gorgeous visuals in this film, how did you decide? How did you and your cinematographer, Seppi Dabrager, how did you decide what to shoot, and then the editing process involved in putting this together in terms of the cohesiveness of your timeline?
Well, that has been a very adventurous process. It was really important to me to have, to do more long lens cinematography, where we have different things in focus, and not so that we can
be really helping bring things forward and create a softness to it. And in conjunction with the music in the film, the music by Daryl Bennett is really critical as well in terms of establishing a feeling for it. What we wanted to do, I used to be head of production for Tony Robbins doing his giant $20 million events. And so in things like that, there were people from 55 countries. And one of the things that I took away from there is that film has an incredible power, because if you not only rely on the words, but if you can communicate visually the concepts, that people can understand it at a deeper level. It's capable of translating, across age barriers, across ethnic barriers, across language barriers. And so we really wanted the language of cinema to be able to speak to people's hearts and to speak to the understanding that they had. So the patterning of the imagery, the motion, when we did animations to reflect the quantum world and the cosmological, we wanted to, use a color palette that would be pleasing, that we could find a way to make the connections for people visually so that they could feel them and that they could transcend some of the language barriers. Because we're already in 110 countries in the first 3 weeks of the film being out.
Wow.
We're already in more than half the countries in the world, and we're doing our very best to translate. We've got currently 12 language translations underway. But we really wanted to, in the film, bring those ideas across so that they would be language independent.
Well, and I'm glad that as you're describing this, I'm thinking immediately as Nassim is talking about surfing and the waves, and the discussion is about the vortex of a wave, and we're seeing the wave so that you understand what the vortex is. As you're talking about, looking at things as, standing water in a sink. So it looks like just a sheet, and that's what we see. You do an incredible job of giving us the visuals to understand the principles behind the theories being talked about.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because it's so important, and we really spent an unbelievable amount of time trying to do that, because I think the challenge with some of these ideas is that we don't want people to have to be an expert to be able to understand how important these ideas are. We want them to be able to just, go to Vimeo, click on the link, and be able to watch and experience it. And, for young people too, how amazing is it to grow up with these understandings? I mean, I'm really, it's been exciting to see the response from millennials who have been looking at the film and reacting to it and sharing some, really amazing comments like best doc I've ever seen and things like that, because I think it's a great gift to be able to go forward and live your life being able to understand the beauty of the connections that are all around you.
Well, and what a great gift for any high school kids out there to watch this documentary. They can go in and dazzle their teachers and professors.
Well, I hope that happens too, because it's all part of it. We're all connected, and the more people that understand the message, the more it gets shared. And I think I really believe in a hopeful future for humanity. Like, we really do live in an incredibly exciting time. We have never had more capacity in our history to share our best practices with each other. So although the connection of social media and phones can be disconnecting for people in terms of them shrinking back into their own world and just, only having digital connections and not having the personal connections, we really encourage people to make sure to be pursuing those personal connections and their connection to nature. But the capacity that the technological connection gives us to share our best ideas is incredible. I mean, it really is an exciting time for humanity that, one person has a brilliant idea or solves a problem, and we can share it with the world like never before.
So I have you mentioned Daryl Bennett and the score, which is absolutely, it is lovely, beyond lovely. Did you have discussions with Daryl about the kind of emotional beats you wanted to hit with the score, or did you just let him look and listen to what you had put together in terms of visual and narrative and come up with something? Because looking at your visuals, I can just imagine what was running through his head melodically.
Well, Daryl is a very, very talented man, and he has 2 Grammy nominations. He's an incredibly gifted person. He's a drummer. He's a cellist. He understands music is in every fiber of his being, and we have been fortunate that we've worked together for a long time. He and I did a lot of work for mental health and addiction and suicide prevention, and for work that it was very important for the emotional connections to be made. So he was absolutely my choice. I did go down and meet with in Hans Zimmer's studio and met some incredible people there. Hans Zimmer has always been a dream. As a film fan who's seen over 3,000 movies, I absolutely adore the music of Hans Zimmer and Thomas Newman and Howard Shore and other people who really can evoke a lot of emotion. But the great thing with Daryl is that we have a working relationship and understanding how we can create together and what we can create together. So Daryl, in addition to his musical talents, he also edits. So we really had integration in the film in terms of he was helping with the editing. And so in our discussions, we would be discussing all the layers, not only the visual layer, but the story layer, the structural layer, the musical components, the things that we were trying to draw out. So because we're both very multifaceted, it really helped bring a cohesion to the project. And I think that people can feel that when they watch it. And Daryl is a deeply talented person. I'm thrilled to have him commit so much time to this project, because it was way bigger than he signed on for.
Well, and I think that the collaborative, collective efforts of yourself, of Nassim, of Seppi, of Daryl, I think you are the epitome of one of the very big messages of the film, that the dynamic energy of universe flows through all of us, connecting us to everything because we are a part of everything.
Yes.
The whole cinematic spirit within which you made this documentary is the embodiment of the theories and philosophies that you're showing us.
Thank you, and I'm really grateful for every person who helped out in every way, because in a task as large as this one, there's been many ways that people have showed up in the way that they could, whether it was contributing to the crowdfunding, whether it was hosting us as we traveled to different locations around the world, whether it was somebody taking us to a secret spot so we could get some amazing shots that, were off the beaten path. There were so many ways that different people stepped up. And, of course, the amount of time spent with Nassim and the sharing of the work at a deep level. It's really been an honor to bring this forward, and I hope that and I'm very thrilled to see the response that people are having to the movie, because that's why we created it. We created the movie to move people, to inspire them, to give them a new way to see the world, to explore and understand these journeys in science, and to show that as you make connections, new opportunities open. And that happens in every area of the life. That can happen as a parent, as an employee, as a boss, as an entrepreneur, as a scientist, as a biologist, as a physicist. When you can start to look at the big picture and you start to see the connection of things, new solutions reveal themselves, and new businesses create themselves. I mean, Uber and Airbnb are making a connection between people who need to make some extra money and people who want a different experience, and by connecting those two, they build big companies. Steve Jobs said creativity is connection. He took a functional box and connected his love of design and calligraphy and merged those two and built one of the biggest companies in the world. So this movie isn't just a esoteric, touchy-feely, metaphysical movie. It's a movie that can really help people make some profound connections in their life. And hopefully it's not only the information in the movie, but the questions in the movie that move people to make a whole bunch of new understandings for themselves.
Well, Malcolm, I can't thank you enough. This has been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on the show today. I do hope you will come back on again. I could talk to you for hours about this doc.
Well, thank you so much. I would love to come back again, because as you know, it takes a little bit of time to get these messages out into the world.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll drag you into the studio next time.
I hope so. I look forward to it. I'm sorry that in this instance I came back to Vancouver for some important meetings and couldn't be with you in person. But I do look forward to the next time and where we can do it together. And thank you for sharing with your audience these messages. And if people want to see and experience the film, they can go to Vimeo on demand and see it there, or go to theconnecteduniversefilm.com. and find the link to buy or rent the film.
And this is truly a film for the entire world, The Connected Universe. Malcolm, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on. It's great to be in amazing hands. I know that you have been doing this work for a long time, and I thank you for bringing all these beautiful films and connecting people to all different joys of cinema, and helping to share that. As a cinemaphile who absolutely loves movies, I appreciate everything you do as well.
Oh, thank you, Malcolm. Thank you.
All the best. Have an amazing day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
And that was the incredible humanitarian filmmaker, documentarian Malcom Carter, talking about The Connected Universe. Go to theconnecteduniversefilm.com and find out how you can see it too. It truly is a documentary for the world. It is amazing. So, Brian, what do we have? A minute and a half left, huh? So we don't have time to do any clips today.
No, but we can play some PCAs if you'd like.
Why don't we take a quick break and hear about who are we going to hear about? Crazy Bitches 2, I think. And then we'll be right back.
It's time to get crazy with Crazy Bitches 2. That's right. The team behind Crazy Bitches is back and needs your help to bring Crazy Bitches 2 to life. You can back the film and do your holiday shopping at the same time, thanks to fun swag and exciting opportunities that will ship just in time to put under or on your tree. Christmas ornaments turn deadly when mommies behave badly and someone can't take it anymore. So go crazy. Join the Crazy Bee Nation and go to the Indiegogo campaign at igg.me/@/CrazyBS2. Crazy Bee Nation. Crazy Bitches 2.
And we are back. But that is all the time we have today. Next week, very excited. Chris Cardone is coming back to talk about Stevie D again. It now has a theatrical release. So Chris is back with us, and we're going to have Chris Boone and Julia Flores talking about a wonderful little indie gem called Sense. So until then, hopefully the hack on the Adrenaline Radio website gets fixed. Hopefully Brian can get online to get his tickets for Rogue One. and there are no more internet hacks, crashes, or anything. Until next week, this is Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Elias.